"Oh, no," said Sergeant Colin. "He promised he wasn't going to touch it anymore. Look, he's had a whole bottle."
"Bear huggers?" said Nobby.
"Shouldn't think so. He's still breathing. Come on, help me up with him."
The night watch clustered around. Carrot had deposited Captain Vimes on a chair in the middle of the watch-house floor. Angua picked out the bottle and looked at the label. CMOT Dibbler's Genuine Authentic Soggy Mountain Dew, she read. "He's going to die. It says 150% proof."
"Nah, that's just old Dibbler's advertising," said Nobby. "It ain't got no proof, just circumstantial evidence."
"Why hasn't he got his sword?" said Angua. Vimes opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was the concerned face of Nobby.
"Ah," he said. "Sword, get away. Hooray!" "What?" said Colin. "No more wash. Olga."
"I think he's a bit drunk," said Carrot.
"Drunk? I'm not drunk. You wouldn't dare call me drunk if I was sober."
"Get him some coffee," said Angua.
"I reckon he's beyond our coffee," said Colin. "Nobby, nip along to Fat Sally's and Squeeze Belly Alley and get a jug of their special Clatchian stuff. Not a metal jug, mind."
Vimes blinked as they manhandled him into a chair.
"Blow the way," he said.
"Bang, bang." "Lady Sybil's going to be really mad," said Nobby. "You know he promised to leave it alone."
"Captain Vimes," said Carrot. How many fingers am I holding up?" How many hands, then?"
"4. "Blimey, I haven't seen him like this for years," said Colin. "Here, let me try something. Want another drink, Captain?"
"He certainly doesn't need a—"
"Shut up, I know what I'm doing. Another drink, Captain Vimes?" "I've never known him not be able to give a loud, clear yes," said Colin, standing back. "I think we'd better get him up to his room."
"I'll take him, poor chap," said Carrot. He lifted Vimes easily and slung him over his shoulder. "I hate to see him like this," said Angua, following him into the hallway and up the stairs. "He only drinks when he gets depressed," said Carrot. "Why does he get depressed?" "Sometimes it's because he hasn't had a drink." The house in Pseudopolis Yard had originally been a Ramkin family residence. Now the first floor was occupied by the guards on an ad hoc basis. Carrot had a room. Nobby had rooms consecutively, 4 so far, moving out when the floor became hard to find. And Vimes had a room. More or less. It was hard to tell. Even a prisoner in a cell manages to stamp his personality on it somewhere. But Angua had never seen such an unlived-in room. "This is where he lives?" said Angua. "Good grief. What did you expect?" "I don't know. Anything. Something. Not nothing." There was a joyless iron bedstead. The springs and mattress had sagged, so they formed a sort of mold, forcing anyone who got into it to instantly fold into a sleeping position. On the stand was a razor, carefully aligned towards the hub, because Vimes shared the folk belief that this kept it sharp. There was a brown wooden chair with a cane seat broken, and a small chest at the foot of the bed. And that was all. "I mean, at least a rug," said Angua. "A picture on the wall. Something." Carrot deposited Vimes on the bed, where he flowed unconsciously into the shape. "Haven't you got something in your room?" Angua asked. "Yes, I've got a cutaway diagram of number 5 shaft at home. It's very interesting strata. I helped cut it. And some books and things. Captain Vimes isn't really an indoors kind of person. But there's not even a candle. He finds his way to bed by memory, he says. Or an ornament or anything." "There's a sheet of cardboard under the bed," Carrot volunteered. "I remember I was with him in Filigree Street when he found it. He said, 'There's a month's souls in this, if I'm any judge.' He was very pleased about that." "He can't even afford boots?" "I don't think so. I know Lady Sybil offered to buy him all the new boots he wanted, and he got a bit offended about that. He seems to try to make them last. But you can buy boots, and you get less than him. And you send money home. He must drink it all, the idiot." "Don't think so. I didn't think he'd touched the stuff for months. Lady Sybil got him onto cigars." Vimes snored loudly. "How can you admire a man like this?" said Angua. "He's a very fine man." Angua raised the lid of the wooden chest with a foot. "Hey, I don't think you should do that," said Carrot wretchedly. I'm just looking, said Angua. No law against that. In fact, under the Privacy Act of 1467, it is there's only old boots and stuff. And some paper. She reached down and picked up a crudely made book. It was merely a wad of irregular-shaped bits of paper sandwiched together between card covers. That belongs to Captain... She opened the book and read a few lines. Her mouth dropped open. Will you look at this? No wonder he never has any money. What do you mean? He spends it on women. You wouldn't think it, would you? Look at this entry. 4 in 1 week. Carrot looked over her shoulder. On the bed, Vimes snorted. There on the page, in Vimes' curly handwriting, were the words, Mrs. Gaskin, Mincing Street, $5. Mrs. Scurrick, Treacle Street, $4. Mrs. Maroon, Wixon's Alley, $4. Annabel Curry, Lob Sneaks, $2. Annabel Curry couldn't have been much good for only $2, said Angua. She was aware of a sudden drop in temperature. I shouldn't think so, said Carrot slowly. She's only 9 years old. One of his hands gripped her wrist tightly, and the other prized the book out of her fingers. Hey, let go! Sergeant! Shouted Carrot over his shoulder. Can you come up here a moment? Angua tried to pull away. Carrot's arm was as immovable as an iron bar. There was the creak of Colin's foot on the stair, and the door swung open. He was holding a very small cup and a pair of tongs.
Nobby got the cuff,
he began, and stopped. Sergeant, said Carrot, staring into Angua's face. Lance Constable Angua wants to know about Mrs. Gaskin.
Oh, Leggy Gaskin's widow? She lives in Mincing Street.
And Mrs. Scurrick?
In Treacle Street. Takes in laundry now.
Sergeant Colin looked from one to the other, trying to get a handle on the situation. Mrs. Maroon?
That's Sergeant Maroon's widow. She sells coal in...
How about Annabel Curry?
She still goes to the Spiteful Sisters of Seven-Headed Sect Charity School, doesn't she?
Colin smiled nervously at Angua, still not sure of what was happening.
And she's the daughter of Corporal Curry, but of course he was before your time.
Angua looked up at Carrot's face. His expression was unreadable. They're the widows of coppers? She said. He nodded. And one orphan.
It's a tough old life, said Colin. No pensions for widows, see?
He looked from one to the other.
Is there something wrong? He said.
Carrot relaxed his grip, turned, slipped the book into the box, and shut the lid. No, he said. Look, I'm sorry, Angua began. Carrot ignored her and nodded at the sergeant. Give him the coffee. But $14? That's nearly half his pay. Carrot picked up Vimes' limp arm and tried to prise his fist open, but even though Vimes was out cold, the fingers were locked. I mean, half his pay! I don't know what he's holding in there, said Carrot, ignoring her. Maybe it's a clue. He took the coffee and hauled up Vimes by his collar. You just drink this, Captain, he said, and everything will look a lot clearer. Clatchian coffee has an even bigger sobering effect than an unexpected brown envelope from the taxman. In fact, coffee enthusiasts take the precaution of getting thoroughly drunk before touching the stuff, because Clatchian coffee takes you back through sobriety and, if you're not careful, out the other side, where the mind of man should not go. The watch was generally of the opinion that Samuel Vimes was at least 2 drinks under par, and needed a stiff double even to be sober. Careful, careful. Carrot let a few drops dribble between Vimes' lips. Look, when I said, Angua began. Forget it. Carrot didn't even look round. I said forget it. Vimes opened his eyes, took a look at the world, and screamed.
Nobby!
Yes, Sarge?
Did you buy the Red Desert Special or the Curly Mountain Straight?
Red Desert, Sarge, because...
You could have said, better get me...
He glanced at Vimes' grimace of horror.
Half a glass of Pear Huggers. We've sent him too far the other way.
The glass was fetched and administered. Vimes unstiffened as it took effect. His palm uncurled. Oh my gods, said Angua. Have we got any bandages?